Look at this water bursting from a faucet 50 stories in the air. To get it there, engineers overcome the immense weight of the fluid, forcing it upward against the natural pull of gravity. But once that water is used, the challenge reverses. It must be immediately and reliably carried away from a basement deep underground. Water weighs roughly 8.3 pounds per gallon, and in a city, it faces a massive obstacle course of concrete and asphalt. Because these surfaces are impervious, water cannot soak into the ground. It accumulates on the surface, moving wherever the topography dictates. Managing this is the work of water resources engineering and hydraulics. While the former focuses on the broad management of supply and distribution, the latter is the specific science of how water behaves as it moves, through pipes, through open channels, and natural riverbeds. Engineers operate this system by manipulating two different physical states. They generate high internal pressure to push clean water into a building, and they use precise slopes to let gravity pull used water and rain runoff back out. This managed balance of pressure and gravity runs 24 hours a day. It is the only reason thousands of people can live and work in a single high-rise without the building's supply failing or its waste backing up. The inbound journey begins at a source, such as a reservoir or a groundwater aquifer. At a treatment plant, the water passes through physical filters and chemical disinfection to ensure it meets safety standards for human consumption. From there, the water enters a distribution network. This is a grid of interconnected pipes that must maintain a specific level of pressure, ensuring that even the most distant or elevated faucet in the system has a steady flow. This municipal pipe cross-section shows water under pressure, with vectors representing its energy. To keep pressure consistent without bursting, engineers precisely calculate and adjust the pipe's diameter, material friction, and elevation changes to keep water moving. If the distance is too great or the hills are too steep for pipe sizing alone, engineers add pumping stations. These provide a mechanical boost, adding energy back into the system to keep the water moving toward the edges of the network. The result is a pressurized supply system that works against gravity to deliver water on demand to millions of individual connections. Once water is used in a home or business, it becomes wastewater. Unlike the inbound supply, sanitary sewers are designed to flow primarily by gravity. Pumping wastewater is expensive and prone to clogging, so engineers prefer to let the weight of the water do the work. The same principle applies to stormwater. When rain hits a city's rooftops and streets, it can't soak into the earth, so it creates a massive volume of runoff that moves much faster than it would in a natural forest or meadow. To manage this, engineers use open-channel hydraulics. This involves routing unpressurized water through concrete gutters, urban storm drains, and large culverts, relying entirely on the slope of the ground. This 3D drainage channel wireframe shows water velocity. Engineers use Manning's equation to predict this speed. By altering the channel's slope, shape, and floor texture, they control volume and prevent silt buildup or structural damage. To handle extreme peaks in rainfall, engineers build detention basins to temporarily hold water and release it slowly. Retention ponds serve a similar purpose, but are designed to hold water year-round, which helps settle out pollutants before the water moves further downstream. This outbound system functions as a series of meticulously calculated gravity slides. It is designed to intercept and move water away from buildings before it can pool into a flood. Large-scale dams represent the point where these inbound and outbound forces are managed in a single location. On the upstream side, the dam must withstand the immense pressure of the held water. On the downstream side, engineers use gravity-fed outlets to release water at specific rates to generate electricity, supply farms, or prevent flooding. Mastering these forces allows for a predictable supply of power and water, even in environments that would otherwise be prone to seasonal drought or destructive floods. However, the historical data used to design these systems is becoming less reliable. Shifting precipitation patterns are causing more intense rainfall events, which can overwhelm pipes and basins that were sized for smaller, more frequent storms. The 100-year flood is a common design reference, representing a flood event with a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. As rainfall patterns change, these extreme events are happening more often. This means that infrastructure built decades ago may now be undersized for modern storms. At the same time, increasing water scarcity is putting pressure on the supply side. maintaining a pressurized inbound system is becoming more difficult and expensive as traditional water sources dry up or become more difficult to access. Because our cities were built around a specific set of climate assumptions, these shifts leave critical infrastructure, like hospitals and power stations, exposed to higher risks of water failure or flood damage. To address these growing volumes of runoff, engineers are turning to green infrastructure. This approach uses features like permeable pavement and rain gardens to let water soak into the ground where it falls. By mimicking the way a natural forest floor absorbs rain, these features reduce the total volume of water that enters the underground pipe network. Integrating these natural processes into the urban grid allows cities to manage higher volumes of water without continuously expanding the diameter of their concrete pipes. Water is just one of the environmental forces that cities must be engineered to withstand. In the next episode, we'll look at how structural engineers design buildings to flex and absorb the immense kinetic energy of a major earthquake.